Here we go. So, hello, Hans. It's wonderful to have you here with us. And just some notes about Hans. I think we first met in the OpenExo community during OpenExo Experience game, and then we went through Knowverse sprint ideation together. So, Hans, please introduce yourself and tell us about your own project, Batna.
Yeah. Hi. Hi, Sasha. Hans, full name is Hans Christian Smith. I also started using my artist name, play a little piano on the side. So then I use Captain Smith. And that is part of the Batna project, which is Batna is Old Norse, meaning improve.
Oh.
So it comes from the Viking language, and I've always been inspired by history and also ways of improvement. Since one of the fields I've been working a lot on is within health, safety, environment, quality, sustainability, and also instruction and learning. I'm a lifelong learner myself. I try to learn something every day, especially on good days, I might say. And so I'm passionate about that. And yeah, that has been the focus of Batna and improvement. You might say, well, life is a slow walk towards that. It's the only
Very
thing
positive.
So that kind of why not just enjoy or try to make the best out of things, but by all means I think improvement is part of that, but it also is very depends on the circumstances or context. Either you're and the more I've traveled and seen different parts of the world, and the more I've been studying and learning new things and meeting people, this is something that I believe is more and more true for me. That the circumstances are at the core of what is improvement. Like we've been living in the time of globalization, the post-World War era, a lot of improvements in health, in automation, technology. But now we are also seeing more and more of the backside of that. That there is also it also creates unhealth or sickness, both in mind and body. Some ways of the modern life, you might say, that also brings and not to forget our Earth, that we are getting more and more knowledge about is in a dire state with its issues. So that's yeah. This is the context, and I used the rephrasing quote of Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor. Everything you hear is an opinion, not the truth. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. It was fact, truth. But anyway, it's from his works, Meditations, where he thinks of his lives and writes it down. And I think this is a quote that is more relevant than ever, because this is what we see when meeting other people, seeing other cultures, seeing other ways of experiencing life.
That's very interesting
And also
point of view.
The technology that we are seeing, that is a strong focus in EXO, that also is something that changes the ways of looking and understanding.
Right. And you mentioned sustainability, and actually in Knowverse you work on sustainability. But why did you join Knowverse project?
I would say that is I've always been interested in learning and pedagogy, the art of learning and teaching others, and this you have knowledge, but then you have also competence, which is knowledge that you have tried out in real life, in practice. And this is also like you can read and understand things, but when you really try it, there is a new dimension to it. So that's like the interest of the art of learning. I've been an instructor from sports to first aid, and also for web design. I had a summer job once, and also as the job as a consultant and an auditor within quality, health, safety, environment, and creating course and sustainability reporting. This is a very relevant question. What do people expect? How can you meet that expectation, or maybe spark like giving them something they are not expecting to spark interest and curiosity around an object. And this trying to have that multi-perspective view on things, I think is very relevant, and that was one of the things that resonated me with the Knowverse and that ideation phase we had there, that we were focusing on that people are different, cultures are different, but we also have knowledge of how that is, like with the VARK model of learning styles, and also including personality and motivation. And so that I think is a very interesting way to approach this, and using technology to help us systemize and have a continuous evaluation feedback. I think is a good approach going forward when it comes to sharing knowledge and education.
Yes, and speaking about different cultures and different styles, you live in Norway, and the Norwegian education system is referred as one of the best in the world. But have you ever experienced any disadvantages in your education system?
Oh yes, it's even growing up in one of the something that is measured as some of the best. I think I, as most other pupils, have met challenges in the schoolyard, in the measuring metering system that is in our school. This pressure of performing, doing good. Like, why is education a competition when people are so different?
Right.
I mean, even in Norway, where we have high, like the statistics say, we are quite similar. We have a high trust in like the government and stuff like that. But at the same time, there are people, but both either you are especially talented in something or you are struggling in one way. This one size fits all doesn't fit all. So the ones that need a little extra, they can fall out in some areas, and the people who lag behind, they are not helped to get onto a good level so you can continue learning. Because falling behind in a subject early, that really creates a challenge in going forward, because it's building, education builds on you have to have the basic knowledge to go into more advanced subjects. So if you lose a part there, that can be challenging. So I would say that yes, the school is good. It has this continuous focus on finding better ways, new ways, trying out different pedagogical methods. Some good, that's part of the learning and experiencing, and testing, experimenting. Not every experiment is a success, but you do get to know why it if it works or not, and maybe go into why it didn't work. And yeah, so Yeah, I've been. I started the school at the age of 5 in England, so I also experienced that school system at a very young age, and came back to Norway starting in the second grade. So in England, I was that odd Norwegian guy, and when I came back to Norway, I was that odd English guy. So. uh, I guess that has had some impact on
Yeah,
me.
that's interesting. And as an educator, what's your secret ingredient for making learning feel more like an adventure than a lecture? Because it's one of the problem we have now. Lecture is a lecture, so lesson is a lesson. You go from A to Z, and there are no variations, and it's not so engaging. So how would you do it more
I
engaging?
would again focus on perspective, like showing that there are different perspectives that can spark curiosity in people. And when you have learned something, trying to do something practical, work in a group, solve a problem, so that knowledge goes from just bookly knowledge to competence, where you actually test out.
Mhm.
The like in the field of first aid training, you can read and understand and whatever, but no matter how much, even if you have been training, you will, yeah, it's a whole different experience when you are in a live situation. The training helps, of course, but and then training is way better than just reading, but experiencing, and that's why we within the sport say the best training is competition, because there you actually you can have a training competition, but it adds something extra to it when it's, yeah, it feels more real when there is a stake in the game, to put it that way.
Thank you. And a tricky question. If you could teleport your students to any historical event or place, where would you take them and why?
Oh, there is so many. Like going back, discussing with philosophers from Greek through Rome to modern times. That would be amazing. And with technology, that is kind of feasible, as Fabrizio has shown. Uh, I mean, Da Vinci, he has that Renaissance sound, right? Where
Yes.
he combines knowledge and testing it in real life, doing practical experiments. Uh, so I also thought of, wow, just like being at the Suez Canal when they did that excavation, seeing how massive, like the start of the Industrial Revolution, and all that engineering that was put into place, and the visionary of people there, like, okay, we'll just remove that mountain or go through it, dig away. It's
Let's
we
do
have
it.
a cabin in the yeah, we have a cabin in the mountain. They built a railroad from Bergen to Oslo. It's called
Mhm.
Bergensbanen, and one of the head engineers lived in this cabin. Found a book of him looking at that history. He was like, "Yeah, we reached a milestone at Finse, which is 5 Norwegian miles, like 56 between 40 and 60 kilometers." And he was like, "And I should be there,
Mhm.
so I'll just jump on my skis and walk for a day to celebrate this milestone." Uh, have work with the rollers, the people who did the work, and
Great.
then walk back the next day. It's like, what were these people built of? Hmm. So and it's there are endless of these things. I think is I get fascinated in museums and exhibitions, both in real life and also the way that many of them implement digital to try to recreate some of these scenes, I find very interesting and inspiring.
That's interesting. And if you could invite 3 fictional characters to be guest speakers in your classroom, who would they be and what would they talk about?
Well, why not Socrates? His questioning methodology, I think, is as relevant today as it was then. Other philosophers, I would also like being inspired by the Vikings, and they were quite early on governance, and they had we call it Gula, which was one of the where all the tribes met and sat together to decide conflicts and find solutions. So that, you know, the Vikings are mostly known for being pillaging rebels, but there is a part of that history that is tradecraft, and it was quite the equal society. Of course, they had slaves like the Athens also had, but between the sexes, you know, there was maybe more equality than we have today.
Really?
And yeah, and they had belief in talking and finding solutions, and I think that is some of the reason why it kind of this Viking edge just fizzle out, because they were assimilated. You know, they became part of the societies they traveled to. We have one Viking. He was even a hired hand, a soldier for the Turkish Sultan. So that, you know, there's a story that I was in Sofia, the church slash Sofia Haga in Istanbul, and there you can see there is a Viking sign ingrained there, and the story behind that is this hired hand to the Sultan.
Once in Sofia, I will check it.
Yeah.
Definitely, it's interesting.
It's not easy to
Never
but
knew
one
this.
of the guides did show me this. It was a fascinating storyteller, and also like Jung with personalities. And his archetypes, I think, would be a fascinating guy, and so many other thinkers, and it's there's an abundance of potential there. Yeah, but that was a few anyway.
Thank you. So, if we think about classrooms of the future, so if you could design the classroom of the future, what features would it have and why? Like, what would Hans add to this classroom?
Smaller groups, diverse groups, like super teams, so that people could learn to cooperate, even though they are, have different personalities and style. Seeing that, they can fulfill one another, help one another. I think that would be very helpful in also learning this, finding fruitful solutions to problems, both internally and in solving the problems. So smaller groups, some thought put into the different people put in different groups, and that there is always a balance between having something that is stable, but also having some variance. So that would be like a balancing point, I think, so that the people that need that kind of structure, we all need some structure to feel safe, that is taken care of, but still having that, being pushed forward, and feeling that internal drive to further explore and test and learn. And with the technology we have today, having knowledge, the knowledge of the world in our hand, you might say, with the mobile phone, or connected to some server somewhere, and within classes, I could imagine that you could even just print out some relevant working sheets, giving knowledge, but also experiments and trials for people to. So I would go in a practical way, where everybody was involved. I've been so many times that guy that I guess I'm quite high on conscientiousness. So I do the task, and people see that, and they think they can lean back, and they might, but the result would be better if everybody contribute, and the learning would be better. Yeah, it's better for everybody for contributing. That's been my motivation. Okay, I'll do the job, but then I'll also get the most learning out of it.
Right. And speaking about the ideal number of students in a classroom, how many of them should be in a classroom? Because usually we have about like 30 students in one class, and 30 students, it's a huge amount.
It's way too many, especially when you have that divide, where you have the very talented within a subject, but also the ones that are struggling. And that is typical in such a large group, that you have the both, and then it is near impossible for the teacher to give guided education for them, because it'll bore the one that is a little ahead, and the one that is struggling is left behind. So smaller groups, the 30 number, that's the class that I'm used to. But of course, when you go to university and such, then you're even larger groups. So it depends on the content. But as we have experienced with COVID, we can also sit in front of each screen when it's a one-way dialogue, and then and I think they often say somewhere between 5 and 8 is or 3 and 8 before whatever, a small group can then everybody can feel comfortable in contributing and being seen and learning. So finding that practical way, and I think there are more possibilities than ever before to manage that. Because we have the digital tools, and you can appoint people as being the group leader, or you can, that is a skill one should start learning from quite an early age.
All right, and so that's very valuable opinion. Thank you, Hans, for saying this, because really experiencing like huge amount of people in one room only, it's my personal no-go as an educator, because I led these classes with 27 or 30 kids. For example, it wasn't so awful experience, but half of them didn't pay attention to the lesson, of course. Yes. Okay.
I tried as a substitute teacher myself, so I totally agree. I can remember coming to the school, and one kid looked and he asked, "You're the substitute?" And I was like, "Yes." And it was a substitute. He was like, "Let's come on, let's catch that guy." And that was the experience. So after that, I said, "Okay, I'll do instruction with people that want to learn something, not kids that are put in a classroom." Just as much just for having them there, not for them being motivated and learning. So motivation, I think, is a central part, and that is the sparking of curiosity that should be quite easy with good storytelling. When you see all the connections and how one innovation is so dependent on several other innovations before it, you know, any subject is massively interesting.
Thanks. So, and the last question for today is, what's your message to everyone out there who is passionate about learning and teaching?
Let's de-learn and start learning for real. There are new perspectives, there is new technology, there is a lot of knowledge about learning. Let's use that and take into account that people are different in so many ways, and that is a strength. It's not a weakness. We should create the educational system where people get to blossom with the talents and the person they are, instead of trying to mold them into something they are not and never will be. I think this is coming back to what we started with, the development we've seen and the post-war era. A lot of the education we see today, I have a theory that is more about putting people in their place, being the cog in the big machinery. But when we see that this machinery is ruining people and ruining our world, we should start thinking in a new way and finding new solutions. And I think education is the start of that.
Education is the human right, the basic human right, and the first step to the brighter future, to the better future.
Yeah, totally agree. And but it has to be renewed. We have to incorporate the knowledge we have of persons' learning styles. And that is done, but as long as we are in this old mold, like it's really hard to create a circle if you are in a square mold. You know, it's you have to break that mold and then recreate a new one. That is, you know, what I feel that the whole group within Knowverse, they have variants of this story that they want to share and find a way.
That's true. Yes, so thank you a lot, Hans, for our talk today.
Thank you, Sasha.
It's a pleasure to have you in Knowverse as our team member. So let's democratize access to knowledge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you a lot.
Make it accessible and adaptable for all.
Accessible and adaptable. Yes. Thank you.